Interrogations and interviews are two very distinct and yet very related, sometimes even overlapping methods of gathering information. Generally speaking, the main objective of an interview is to collect information. Interrogations, on the other hand, are conducted to gain information, but also to elicit or extract confessions and incriminating statements. In other words, when police officers interrogate someone, they often have a pretty good idea that the person being interrogated is guilty, or they have direct information relating to the crime. Keep this in mind. When the police come to talk to you, they are most likely never going to tell you that they are going to interrogate you. They will always say something to the effect that they just want to have a word with you. They just have a few questions to ask. They want to have a quick chat with you in order to tie up a few loose ends. Truth be known, most interrogations start with interviewing techniques to get the interviewee or the suspect to start talking. Once they get the suspect to start talking, they can establish what they call a baseline to tell how a person reacts when they ask them simple questions. The police officer is also trying to establish rapport with the suspect so that they can keep the suspect talking. This is critical for the officer as it keeps the subject talking, thus preventing them from invoking their Fifth Amendment rights or their right not to answer questions without an attorney present. Let's look at some of the most common tricks, strategies, and tactics police use to extract information and confessions from suspects. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Once they get you into the police interrogation room, though, they often will use the isolation technique. They stick you in a small room with no windows, pictures, clocks, TVs, radios, nothing, just four walls, a door, a table, and a few chairs. Oh yeah, and the camera up in the corner, staring right at you. This isolation technique is made to make you feel isolated, alone, powerless, and they will usually let you sit there for a bit so you can think about everything and so they can see how you react. Most likely you will be seated in the corner of a room in a chair that cannot be moved while the interrogating officer sits in a more comfortable chair at a distance where he can quickly move closer or further away from you depending on their needs. When the interrogation starts, the rapport building technique is usually the first thing they use. The interrogating officer will try to establish rapport with you, establish a relationship with you, or find some common ground with you in order to get you to talk to them. This is usually done by asking you casual, friendly questions. Things like, how long have you lived here? Did you see the game last weekend? Or maybe questions about work or your family to get you to start talking about things you're comfortable with. They may even offer you food or something to drink so you can feel more comfortable given the situation that you're currently in. To build that rapport, that relationship, and get a better baseline of how you react, they chat with you a bit using small talk and often ask questions they already know the answers to. This way they can see how you react when you are relaxed and being truthful, and they can later use that information to tell when you are not telling the truth and when you get nervous or when you get tense. One goal of the early interrogation process is to make you feel comfortable with the detective, to make you think he or she is a nice guy or gal, someone you can relate to, and someone you think you can have an honest conversation with. The next trick they use is to get you to say you are willing to talk to them. The detective may say something like, it looks like you want to talk with us, or it seems like you are someone that I can talk with openly and honestly, or I'll bet you want to tell me what really happened. They often ask you to sign a form saying you are willing to talk with them. After all, you're just having a good conversation with them. They aren't asking any hardball questions. Why not just keep on talking, get this over with as quickly as possible, and then go home? This is their way of very nicely, politely, and quickly getting you to give up or waive your right to remain silent and have legal counsel present during questioning. The next phase is often the open-ended question phase of the interrogation. During this phase, the tone of voice will usually remain pleasant, appear to be a casual conversation, and they ask what is called open-ended questions about the case at hand. Open-ended questions are ones that are not easy to answer with just a yes or a no answer, and sometimes they may not be actual questions. Things like, tell me more about what happened last night, or tell me about your dinner last night, or where were you going after you left the bar last night? Those are all open-ended questions. They ask you open-ended questions to try to get as much information as possible so they can find inconsistencies in your statements, which, by the way, they will use against you later. Remember, police officers can easily tell when you tense up or you get nervous or if you are potentially trying to be deceptive or hide something. Once the open-ended questioning phase ends, they move quickly into the accusatory process of the interrogation. The detective may say something like, "You know what? We know you did it. We just need to understand why you did it." When you try to deny the allegations, they will often quickly interrupt your denial of the allegations and rephrase the statement over and over again. They may interrupt you by saying things like, "Stop denying it. Stop, just listen to me. I will allow you to talk in just a moment, but right now it is very important that you listen to me carefully." Their entire purpose at this point is to keep the allegations that you are guilty at the front of your mind. They don't want you to verbalize any alibis or denials of the accusations. They just want you to know that they know you did it. Then they will often confront you with the evidence against you. Some of this evidence may be real evidence. Some of it may be false evidence or tricks to see what you do or say. They might say they have your fingerprints or your DNA or eyewitnesses who saw you there, or they allude to the fact that there is surveillance video or some other recordings of the entire incident. The truth is, they can say just about anything, but they might present it in the way of a question like this. What would you say if I told you we have several eyewitnesses that put you at the bar last night? Or what would explain the surveillance video of you walking into the bar last night? And they will oftentimes have a folder sitting on the table and tap that folder like they have some damning evidence inside. I have seen some interrogations in which a second investigator comes in with a folder, a laptop, some videotapes, whatever, sets them down on the table in front of the detective conducting the interrogation as if to bring in the evidence as proof. This is a psychological ploy to put pressure on you and make you think they got the goods on you, and it is all legal for them to do. That is right. The police can legally use deceit to gather evidence when interrogating suspects. Remember that. Next, they will give you options. Not options like, do you want to stay here and answer our questions, or do you want to go home? They will give you options of why you committed the crime. They are letting you know there may be logical reasons of why you did it, and they understand those reasons. This could be stating something like, "I know, accidents happen, tempers can flare, and we have seen many cases where this has happened before." Some other options given by the police that I have heard are, "We know you didn't mean to hurt her. You didn't mean for it to go down this way. You're not a monster. I know dumb things happen when two people are drinking and partying all night. Did you push her and she just slipped and fell?" In other words, they give you an easy out, a way of saying, yes, you were involved, but you didn't plan on it, and it was all an accident. This allows the suspect to minimize the seriousness of the crime, and this might minimize the punishment as well. I mean, after all, good people don't go to prison for life for making mistakes or having accidents, do they? In reality, yes. That does happen all the time. The tactic of minimizing the allegations and minimizing the potential punishment is a ploy the police use quite effectively. Remember this, police interrogators are trained professionals who know how to tell when you are being truthful, when you are being deceptive, and even when you are about to give in. When they see you starting to break down, getting close to the point of confession, they will start to move in, get closer, and they may even put a hand on you to comfort and encourage you. They will say you are doing the right thing. You are not a monster. Everyone will understand. After you have confessed, though, the interrogation is not over. Now they will ask you to solidify that confession in writing. They will often trick you by saying, "Let's put this in writing so everyone knows what happened and how sorry you are that it did happen." Then they will go over your written statement just to clarify, just to make sure that they understand, and just to make sure that they get you confessing it all while being video recorded by that little camera up in the corner of the room.